And we are set to go. Good evening, everyone. My name is Lori Van Heeren. I'm the Deputy Director of the Independent Redistricting Commission. Right now, I want to introduce our interpreter and have her show you where she's going to be in case anybody needs the interpreting services.
Good evening. My name is Marianne Bouchard. I'm the interpreter for Spanish-speaking citizens. And if you guys need my services or know of anyone who needs the services, I'll be at the end of the room. Buenas noches, me llamo Marianne Bouchard. Soy el intérprete del día de hoy. Si alguien necesita los servicios o saben de una persona que necesita los servicios, yo estaré al fondo de la habitación. Gracias.
So, at this time, if everybody could stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States, to the republic which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, and justice for all. Thank you so much, and I will now turn it over to Vice Chair Watchman to chair the meeting.
Thank you, Lori, and good afternoon, everybody. I am Derek Watchman, Vice Chair of the Commission, and I've been asked to run this meeting. And so I'd like to first call this public hearing to order. And so I also like to ask that you follow the Department of Health guidelines with regard to COVID-19. If you're not fully vaccinated, please wear masks in public places. If you would like to participate at home, each of these meetings, as you know, are being streamed through WebEx, YouTube, and social media. We are also recording these meetings, and it will be available and is available on our website, and that's at irc.az.gov. If you'd like to make a public comment, you may do so by signing in with staff out in front there and by filling out a public comment card. We also have, as we said, and you see on the board here, an American Sign Language interpreter joining us, and we will have the proceeds transcribed. And when you do speak, please speak slowly and clearly so that we can record your input. At this time, I'd like to introduce ourselves, and I will start at the end with Madam Chair.
Hello, my name is Erica Newberg. I am the independent chairwoman of the commission, and I live in Chandler.
Good evening. My name is Doug York. I am the Maricopa County representative on the panel for the Republican Party.
Hello, I'm David Meal. I'm from Pima County, and I'm also from the Republican Party.
Hello, good evening, everybody. My name is Shireen Lerner. I am from Maricopa County, and I'm one of the Democrats.
And as I indicated, I'm the Vice Chairman, Derek Watchman. I represent Apache County, and I'm from Winter Rock, Arizona. And so I would also like to acknowledge that we're on the Salt River Pima Maricopa Indian Community land. And I want to say thank you to the members and our leadership, President Javier and his staff, for allowing us to use the facilities. So thank you, and we appreciate it. And so now let's move on to agenda item number 2. And we'll have a presentation on the process. First, I'd like to turn the time over to our legal team.
Vice Chair, we are going to actually move to public comment, and we're going to read the rules of the meeting.
Okay.
So in compliance with Arizona's open meeting law, speakers should confine their statements to the issue on the posted agenda, which is before the commission. Speakers are also requested to limit their comments to approximately 2 minutes. The 2 minutes will be strictly enforced. Additionally, speakers are required to follow proper decorum. Speakers must use appropriate language. Foul and/or abusive language will not be tolerated. Any speaker failing to follow proper decorum or any other guidelines may be asked to leave. Any breach of the commission of the peace or a disruption of a commission public hearing may be cause of report to law enforcement. If someone has already expressed the same sentiment you wish to express, you may say so, and your comments will be recorded. If you have already spoken at a previous meeting, your comments were recorded in the public record. Opposing viewpoints may be expressed by the citizens present. As a courtesy, citizens are reminded to address their comments to the chair and the commission, and not to the audience present. Please show respect for all speakers and avoid personal comments. Remember, the commission must hear all sides of an issue to make an informed decision. We will now begin public comment, and I'll ask Michelle to read the first names of the first speakers.
Madam Chair and members of the commission and the listening audience, it gives me great honor and great pleasure to introduce our first speaker, and that's the president of the Salt River Pima Maricopa Indian Community, and that's President Martin Javier.
Thank you, Michelle. First of all, I want to say good evening to Chairwoman Newberg and Vice Chairman Watchman and members of the committee. On behalf of the Salt River Pima Maricopa Indian Community, it's an honor to welcome you here to the campus of the Scottsdale Community College. I don't know how many know, but back in 1970, this campus was established with the Maricopa County community colleges. So I believe in 1970, there was a 99-year lease that was signed with the college. And it's one of 10 Maricopa County colleges that are located in Maricopa County that's located on tribal land. And it is the home of the Fighting Artichokes. So I just wanted to let you know that. And I just say, you know, we've been, it's been an honor to work with leadership here at the college and working with our community. So I want to thank the college for opening their doors to host this meeting this evening. So I just wanted to make those comments. You know, just wanted to, again, thank you coming here tonight to tribal lands. And my understanding, this isn't the only tribal community that you visit in going out in your districting efforts. I believe last night, some of you were up in San Carlos, so I'm sure that was quite a drive to come down. I just wanted to take a brief moment, I guess, to show a little bit of history of our community, because in many ways it illustrates in one way how tribes redistricted many years ago. You know, our community was established by executive order in June the 14th of 1879 by then President Rutherford B. Hayes by executive order. In June of 1879, our land base consisted of 56,300 acres. I share the history with you because 6 months earlier in January of that same year, by executive order by that same president, Rutherford B. Hayes, our community land base was 680,000 acres of land. So this community land base for 6 months consisted over 680,000 acres. When you put that scale to a map, our community for 6 months encompassed the city of Scottsdale, Paradise Valley, city of Phoenix, city of Glendale, city of Tempe, city of Mesa, and it followed the river up into the White Mountain Apache tribe. 6 months later, again by executive order, it was changed to 53,000 acres. So in a matter of 6 months, we lost over 600,000 acres of land. But I think it shows that the federal government recognized the Aboriginal lands of the Anthem people who are here, the Anakamil Anthem and the Alchatham Pipash people. The Akmil Anthem say that we have been here since time immemorial. I will share with you, there was a gentleman, his name, I just shared, the late Royce Manuel. He had a lot to do with designing this building. And as you go out, I would like you to look at some of the architect of this building and some of the things that have been put into it, because he had a lot to do with that. Our history tells us that the Anthem and the Pipash came from the Gila River area, which is 35 miles from here, to continue farming off of here. His response to that story was that that's not true. We've been here since time immemorial. And for those of you that live here know that when development happened in the cities of Chandler and Mesa and Tempe, archaeological sites are found of our ancestors. So, you know, part of me tends to believe the story that we came over at a certain time really didn't happen. We were here since time immemorial. And again, I wanted to just take this opportunity to thank you. I believe it was back in August the 9th that I had an opportunity to come before the commission on our concerns or our comments on what we wanted as far as the redistricting, and I know we were able to submit that. But I think it's a great opportunity for those that are here to give their input, and it's good to see the turnout that's here. But I just wanted to take this opportunity to welcome you to the Salt River Pima Maricopa Indian community. Thank you.
Thank you, President Javier.
I will be calling up the next 9 speakers, and you can line up against this wall. So listen up for your names. Mr. John Kavanaugh, Jim Lane, Penny Sharon, Richard Rutkowski, Jerry Rydell, Kevin Brown, Phyllis Lerner, Andrea Wolverton, Mary Molinas, or Mullet, I'm sorry if I pronounced your name wrong. It's Monillas. First one is Mr. John Kavanaugh.
Thank you for allowing me to speak. I'm actually State Representative John Kavanaugh. I've been in legislation for the last 15 years, but for longer than that, I still am a professor at Scottsdale Community College. So I would like to thank the president for giving a shout out to Scottsdale Community College, particularly our vegetative mascot, which we always like to promote. Concerning redistricting, I'll be very brief. 15 years ago, when I was first elected, it was District 8. It was Scottsdale north of Thomas, at Fountain Hills and Rio Verde. 5 years later, new redistricting essentially stayed the same, with the exception that Fort McDowell Native American community was added at their request because of their close association with Fountain Hills. The latest iteration does make some significant changes to what we've become used to and what we thought worked. The major change being that the southern boundary has been pushed up to Shea. So now, instead of just having the small southern section of Scottsdale in the Tempe district, which was acceptable because in many ways they were very closely associated with Tempe, a major Sky Song University research facilities there, a lot of employees are there. But now moving it up to Shea, you really do a big cut on the political landscape and the community of interest. And the way the population shift was dealt with by doing that was to extend us into North Phoenix, which again is a little bit of discord in terms of political boundaries and to a certain degree communities of interest. So personally, I think we had a really good thing working, both with political boundaries and community of interest, with the current north of Thomas in Scottsdale, Fountain Hills, Rio Verde, and the Fort McDowell Native American community. And I would like to see, I think the map would be more true to the purposes if we could get closer to that. And I thank you for your time.
Good evening, Madam Chair and the Commissioners. And I want to thank you very much for having the ability to speak to you on a subject that's very near and dear to my heart. I've been the mayor of Scottsdale for the past 12 years, just recently termed out. But in any case, I have a pretty good feel for, the mix and the interest, the community interests that are shared in certain areas of our city. And I think the principal thing that I would like to address with you is the boundaries on what would become District 4. And by just simply, I think, southern Scottsdale area we're talking about, on the southern area of that, is much more aligned with areas in North Tempe, actually, and considering that. Moving that southern boundary just 2 miles north to Camelback would be very, very instructive as far as having that community of interest in one solid area group. Moving the eastern boundary through and completely with McCormick Ranch would also encompass that same community of interest. Whatever may need to happen with regard to the western boundary, we're thinking that 51 would probably be a logical place. Moving the southern boundary to Camelback, and thus moving the northern boundary to somewhere Desert Ridge area. So that's really the simple answer to that. And given consideration for time, certainly want to just put that out there. I think that would be a very, very wise move and would give us that community of interest in the integrity of it. So thank you very much.
I'm a lot shorter than all the gentlemen who went before me, so to bring the mic down. Good evening. My name is Penny Sharon. I'm the president-elect of the League of Women Voters of Arizona, and I'd like to thank the commissioners for giving me this opportunity to represent the League. The Independent Redistricting Commission focused its first learning tour on communities of interest and has emphasized this criterion throughout the mapping process. However, your voting district does not determine where you shop, dine, worship, or socialize. While people who reside in the same community are likely to engage in personal activities together, they are free to cross voting districts for such activities. What does define a community of interest for redistricting purposes are the common needs and problems residents share that can be addressed by government action, things like healthcare or education facilities, public safety, water shortages, access to broadband, and their economic interests, such as mining, agriculture, and tourism. Placing citizens within such common concerns in the same voting district serves multiple purposes. It focuses their attention where it should be on problem solving and solutions. It amplifies their voices in Congress and at the Arizona legislature, increases their chances of getting needed resources for their districts. The League believes the Commission should employ this more useful definition of communities of interest, combined with a concerted effort to create more districts that are highly competitive or competitive. It'll enable the Commission to create fair maps for Arizona. I want to thank the Commissioners for giving me this chance to represent the League, and thank you so much for the work you're doing on behalf of all Arizonans. Good evening.
Commissioners, my family has lived in Fountain Hills for 20 years. I'm a family medicine doctor. My wife is a registered nurse and also the vice president and in her second term on the Fountain Hills Unified School District Governing Board. We work in Scottsdale. We shop in Central and North Scottsdale and in Fountain Hills. We go to church in Scottsdale. We have family, close friends, and social events in Scottsdale, Rio Verde, and Fountain Hills. My wife and daughter help out at a stable in Rio Verde. We rarely shop, work, or visit the area near Desert Ridge, I-17, Deer Valley Airport, or North Phoenix. So based on public comments from prior meetings, I think the residents of those areas have this corresponding ideas relative to Fountain Hills, Scottsdale, and Rio Verde. Scottsdale, especially north of about Indian Bend or Camelback, Fountain Hills and Rio Verde comprise one cohesive community of interest. The proposed legislative District 3 is geographically spread very widely from east to west, I think about 35 miles currently. This would make effective representation of its residents much more difficult. It also combines areas which don't share the common factors that connect much of Scottsdale, Fountain Hills, and Rio Verde together as a community of interest. The current western border along Shea Boulevard is at 96th Street. That seems like an odd border. I believe that it would be in best interest of all involved to include more of Scottsdale from at least Shea Boulevard to the western border of Scottsdale at about Scottsdale Road, along with Fountain Hills and Rio Verde in Legislative District 3. What is now the far, far west section of the proposed District 3 would be a better fit with the adjacent area south of the 101 near I-17 as opposed to in District 3. These changes would also produce a more geographically compact district. The same principles apply to proposed Congressional District 1, which now extends from east of Fountain Hills all the way to Central Phoenix. Central Phoenix can't reasonably be considered as in the same community of interest with Fountain Hills, Rio Verde, and North Scottsdale. At the contrast of small town suburban versus big city urban, it just doesn't fit. Hopefully you consider these changes. Thank you.
Richard Rakowski was here. Hi, my name is Jerry Rydell. Thank you for the job you're doing. Obviously, it's a big job. Thank you for having me here to speak tonight. My message will be short and sweet. I'm currently a councilman in the town of Fountain Hills, which is in proposed District 3. I live, work, shop, go to church in Scottsdale and Fountain Hills. I don't shop, work, or visit Desert Ridge or Deer Valley or go to anywhere near the I-17. Those areas are all many, many miles away from our town, and I represent a lot of residents in our town and should not be included in the same district. Please consider the western boundary of Scottsdale, not the I-17 corridor for District 3. Please recognize our communities of interest, which are different from what is proposed to keep us all together. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Kevin Brown. I've lived in Tempe for the last 30 years and lived in Arizona my entire life, except for my military service. I do volunteer work and am active in my neighborhood association. I'm here tonight to support map LD 0061. It corrects what I see as a mistake with the current draft map. It does this by splitting the cities of Scottsdale and Tempe less. Map 61 doesn't include so much of North Scottsdale in with North Tempe. The map keeps the ASU neighborhoods together and the Tempe and Scottsdale downtown neighborhoods together with themselves. In particular, the map keeps the Scottsdale Business District in one district. It splits Chandler, Gilbert, Tempe, and Scottsdale in only 2 districts each. Please respect these communities of interest. These districts have relatively equal populations. Besides this, the map moves the Honda precinct to LD9, keeping it in the Mesa School District where most of the children go to school. This map also respects the Latino communities of interest in LD9 and 13. It creates 2 more competitive districts by moving the Sun Lakes communities from LD13 to LD12. Competitive districts are important, so we get better politicians, more responsive to community needs. Too long, we have had politicians that only had to win the primary to get elected. Thank you for your time tonight.
Hello, my name is Phyllis Lerner. I am semi-retired and a resident of Desert Mountain at the far northeastern edge of the Phoenix metro area near Carefree. For this testimony, I am speaking on my own behalf. In our daily lives, we typically frequent the Carefree Cave Creek area and other businesses all over Scottsdale. The only time we really go outside of these areas is to the airport or for other unique tasks that arise in Central Phoenix. LD3 does not reflect our community as it has areas from Desert Ridge to Interstate 17 in the far west, as well as southwest and south portions of the district that have little relation to the rest of LD3. To address this issue, there are 3 changes that should be made. The Desert Ridge area north of the 101 should be part of LD4 with a boundary between LD4 and LD3 at the Scottsdale city limits. This works for us today and should continue. Second, LD3 should extend south to Chaparral Road. Since South Scottsdale and Tempe are both arts and entertainment districts filled with young people, they should be part of LD8. Lastly, the towns of Cave Creek, Carefree should be part of LD3. These changes would make LD3 reflect our community. Lastly, any governance process such as this should reflect the communities they represent. Therefore, I would encourage a close adherence to the redistricting criteria as set forth in the Arizona Constitution, which places an emphasis on what we're addressing today, communities of interest. Thank you for this opportunity to speak.
Good evening, Commission members. My name is Andrea Wolverton, and I am a citizen of Gilbert. My husband and I are grandparents that love to have free thinkers and like-minded neighbors. We love Gilbert, and especially the political demographic of our area. We are in the Columba District, 1 mile from downtown Gilbert. If the current maps are accepted, our congressional district will change from CD5 to CD4. Our legislative district will change from LD12 to LD10. According to the 2020 census, both of these would be bad for us in the following ways. Mesa has a higher population of older persons. We are young, under 65. In Mesa, they have approximately 60,000 households that are not made up of families. In Gilbert, we have approximately 17,000. Mesa has 80% of the homes speaking English and 16 speaking Spanish, compared to Gilbert with 86 English and 6 Spanish. Mesa has 29% with a bachelor degree or higher. Gilbert has 47%. In Mesa, the median owner-occupied income or home had a median value of $259,300 compared to $372,500 in Gilbert. Mesa has 15% of its community in mobile homes. Gilbert has 1%. Mesa has 25% multi-housing units. Gilbert has 11%. The median household income in Mesa is $63,836, and in Gilbert, the median income is $102,793. My point in highlighting this information for you is so you can see how drastically different our cities are. To lump Gilbert in with Mesa will severely alter our congressional and legislative representation in our state. The core principle to congressional and legislative maps is to keep like cities together. Thank you for your time.
I'm Mary Margaret Manilis, retired teacher, principal, college professor. For nearly 10 years, I've called Scottsdale my home. I live in Scottsdale. I worship in Scottsdale. I dine in Scottsdale. I socialize in Scottsdale. I can't remember one time in 10 years that I ventured to Deer Valley Airport area. I think we should keep Scottsdale intact and not link us with Desert Ridge or I-17. We are not communities of interest. We are different, suburban versus more urban. Thank you.
We'll turn it back over to Anthem at this moment.
Good evening from Anthem. At this time, I'd like to introduce our Spanish interpreter.
Good evening, everyone. I'm a Spanish interpreter. My name is Brenda Lopez. If you need my services, I'll be right in the back of the room. Buenas noches a todos. Mi nombre es Brenda López. Soy la intérprete en español. Si necesita de mis servicios, estaré en la parte trasera de la sala. Gracias.
At this time, we will call our first 5 speakers. If you could line up behind me, please. Stephen McDonald, Kathy Schwenke, Connie Henry, KJ Kukta, and Thomas Perchala.
Yes. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Stephen McDonald, and I live in Desert Hills along New River Road. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak before you. I take this as an honor, and I have lived in our present CD8 for 32 years. My CD8 is the reason I am here. I am asking for the boundaries that are currently in CD8 to remain the same as much as possible. My wife and I live in the northern part of CD8, and the rest of our family live in the southern part of the same district. We all agree and speak with a unanimous voice. Please do not separate my wife and I from our family in the southern portions of our district and move us to a district in Scottsdale and southern Phoenix, because our community of interest is along I-17, not Scottsdale Road on the east side. Thank you very much, and thank you again. Bye.
Our Anthem New River Desert Hills North Phoenix is a growing urban community and shares only one school district here on the west side. Testified that our I-17 corridor is not part of their community. They see their western boundary as Scottsdale Road, not I-17, where our Anthem community runs south. Please add our Anthem area with D8, where we have always been. It's where our school district is. JP and Board of Supervisor districts, airports, shops, hospitals are, not Scottsdale, Fountain Hills, Paradise Valley, way over on the east side. The draft LD map shows a very small population of our Maricopa County community still with Yavapai. Please put these few voters north of New River back with our Anthem neighbors. Also, there are 3 precinct splits we ask you to fix now before it's too late. The LD 28 border along Carefree Highway splits my precinct. A small population south of Carefree Highway puts them in with Scottsdale, with whom they have no community of interest. They can't even access south of their own area because of mountains, so they go west to I-17. The squiggly border of southeastern LD28 splits 2 more precincts of small populations, cutting them off from their neighbors whom they share access to I-17. Easily fix all 3 of these splits by extending the LD28 border along 28th Street straight south and then west on Jomex Road or Sonoran Boulevard. Balance these population additions by removing Wickenburg and southern LD28 areas in Peoria and also areas west of the 303. Because whereas we are urban Phoenix, we have nothing to do with rural Wickenburg, who'd rather be in rural Yavapai, not urban Phoenix. Thank you. Can you state your name for the record, please? My name is Kathy Schwenke.
Good evening. My name is Connie Henry, and I have lived in Anthem 21 years. I've watched this community quickly grow from 0 to 30,000 people from all over the country. Burgeoning diversity across our state has turned Arizona purple. I applaud this commission for how it has drawn up the future congressional district CD1. This meets the 3 mandated criteria of the compactness, communities of interest, and competitiveness. Thank you. However, the proposed boundaries of LD 28 meet none of those 3 criteria. Anthem is a northern suburb of Phoenix. Our communities of interest lie to the south along both sides of I-17 corridor. We have nothing in common with the extremely rural part of the far western part of Maricopa County. It would take me 90 minutes to get to the western border of the proposed LD 28. I venture to say that the vast majority of Anthemites have never traveled to those communities. This is not compact. This is not our community of interest. The vote spread in this LD is more than 30%. This is hardly fair and would allow pandering to an extremist base at the expense of others. Politically balanced districts are good for voters, good for democracy. Legislators would need to be more responsive to a greater number of constituents. The current state map of LDs has 24 safe districts that would deprive over 1 million voters of the opportunity to elect their candidates. You did a good job on CD1. In the LD 28, I believe a better alignment of our COI, compactness, and competitiveness is possible. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Kelly Cookta, and my wife and I are raising 3 children in Anthem, Arizona. I'm a community leader in North Phoenix, and I own a computer forensic company in Peoria. Thank you first of all, in that our LD is no longer in Yavapai County. So I want to congratulate you on that after the first one. I and my neighbors in Anthem, New River, Desert Hills use the natural egress of I-17 and the 303 freeway to the west and to the south of the Phoenix metro area. Thinking of our community of interest in terms of suburban and rural areas, Our future community footprint will grow much faster than Whitman, Morristown, Wickenburg areas, so please consider the following. Our congressional district map has us in CD1, which covers a broad area to the East Valley and south into Phoenix and Scottsdale, instead of those areas that we talked about. CD8 is our current CD and matches our community of interest. Therefore, I would ask that our North Phoenix area be included in a CD8 area. I have a map if you'd like to see what that would be. I'm glad to give it to somebody. I recommend that area south of Happy Valley Road and east of I-17 be removed from CD8 and be included with CD1. Regarding LD28, my understanding is that the area of Wickenburg and western Maricopa County, Morristown, Whitman see their community of interest more in Yavapai County than this I-17 corridor. Move these people to LD5 and remove the community north of New River all the way to Maricopa line from Yavapai, and also pick up the area south of Carefree along I-17 corridor that is in LD3. I have an exhibit also for that. In essence, what I'm looking here is that we do a counterclockwise rotation, looking at LD5, LD3, and LD28 in a clockwise manner. Move the western part of LD28 to LD5. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Thomas Pierchet, along with my wife of 34 years. We've been Arizona residents for 21 years and have lived in the same address in Anthem. I'm a veteran and served in the Army and Air Force National Guard. I was fortunate as a career to have been a pilot and captain and flew for a major U.S. freight corporation and traveled all over the world for 34 years. Seeing the world like this made me realize only more that the U.S. is the greatest and best country on earth. We are a great country because of our fairness and equality to all citizens. For this reason, when considering redistricting, therefore, we are asking that Anthem and surrounding areas stay as one unified community. So in the CD map, please remove our Anthem, Desert Hills, New River, North Phoenix from area D1 and place us south in area D8, where we have always been and belong along the I-17 corridor. It is the fair and equal solution to the redistricting. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Our next 5 speakers are Eileen Neodemus, Lisa Kelly, Francine Edelson, Vivian Decker, and Connie Stanfield.
Hello. Is it okay to start? Yes. Hi, my name is Eileen Nicodemus, and I've been a resident relatively new in Anthem for 4 years. I love this community and I want to continue to present just 2 changes with the maps. One is with the Congressional District 1. We would like to propose moving the Anthem, Desert Hills, New River, and North Phoenix into or back into CD8. This is our natural community of interest. We have all of our businesses, our shops, our school districts that run along the south corridor on I-17. So we would like to propose that change. Secondly is with the Legislative District Map 28. We would like to propose to include the Maricopa County area north of New River in with District 28. Because again, this is our community of interest in Anthem, our businesses and our community run along that I-17 corridor, and this is a natural community of interest. Thank you for this opportunity.
Hi, my name is Lisa Kelly, and I live in Anthem with my husband and my son. We do all of our business and church and visit shops all along the I-17 corridor. With that being said, for our legislative district, we would like to propose that our line goes up to the Maricopa County line and brings that back into our district, as well as offsetting that population by moving the more rural areas of Wickenburg and those surrounding towns into Legislative District 5. And for our congressional district, we were proposed to be in Congressional District 1 with Scottsdale and Fountain Hills and areas that honestly I've never even been to. So we would like to propose to be back into Congressional District 8. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Francine Adelson, and I thank you for the opportunity to speak to you tonight. I chose to move to Anthem 2 years ago. I chose Anthem, I chose Anthem because it's a suburb of Phoenix, not a downtown or a rural area. I've lived in both urban and suburban areas, and they, as well as rural areas, have some very different issues and needs. Anthem shouldn't be in a district with Wickenburg, Whitman, or any rural area, as they actually have nothing in common. Anthem, being a suburb of Phoenix, should be in a district with other nearby suburbs. Anthem is a community of interest with other areas up and down I-17, from New River to North Loop 101 east and west of the freeway. Anthem residents shop, dine, and send their children to schools in neighboring communities. And there is no need, again, to combine Wickenburg when there are other common options available, and I would expect that the residents of Wickenburg might feel the same way about us. I urge you to move the District 28 boundaries south rather than west or east. Politically speaking, to keep elections competitive, District 28 should go down I-17, at least to the northern loop of 101. Carefree Highway and I-17 should be kept in a district with Anthem to the north and Otero to the south, as there are similar priorities and growth. We need our representatives to address common interests and issues of our communities. If that is not done, we all lose, either by unfair political advantage or representatives having to choose between uncommon interests of a community, which would lead to underrepresentation of a portion of the residents. Thank you.
Vivian Decker. I'd like to thank the Commission for separating Maricopa County from Yavapai County. I appreciate the work that the Commission is doing in the sharing of the data with its constituents. I've lived in Arizona for more than 13 years, with 12 years in the Desert Hills area. I do not live in Anthem community. I live in an area just on the other side of the fence that is rural. We have dirt roads. I actually even live on a dirt road, and many of my neighbors own and board horses on their properties, with some of my neighbors owning acreage. Our community is currently included in the D28 maps. While I appreciate the Commissioner's recommendations, including us in other rural areas, having D28 go west into Aguila just isn't in our best interest. I actually lived in Aguila for 1 year at the Aguila Air Park, which is a small gated community with a group of houses. Aguila is a farming area, with the closest shopping area being 25 miles away in Wickenburg. We need to be included in an area that has similar priorities and growth that cannot be addressed the same as in the rural areas of Aguila or Wickenburg. D28 is uncompetitive due to going west-east instead of south. Please make D28 a more competitive district. And after reviewing your draft map for Congressional District 1, which includes Anthem, I agree with your decision, which makes it a competitive and fair congressional district. Again, I appreciate the work you are doing. Thank you. Vivian Decker, State Committee, LD1, Maricopa, also Desert Hills Precinct Committee person.
Hello, thanks for listening. My name is Connie Stanfield. I've been a registered nurse for 52 years. I have, over the years, been a legislative liaison for the Arizona Home Care Association. I've testified before the Health and Welfare legislative committee, and I was appointed to a governor's legislative committee to oversee some bills that were being passed. I understand the meeting of community interest. I happen to live in Desert Hills, and I have horses, as do all my neighbors. My community of interest is the I-17 corridor. From New River to Dove Valley, where I shop, see my physicians, my dentist, I utilize the hospital services, unfortunately, the pharmacy, the restaurants, I ride my horse on the trails that we have, and I visit with family and friends in Anthem and surrounding areas. Please consider removing Wickenburg and other far western areas from the D28 LD draft map and remove our area from Scottsdale, Southeast Phoenix area from this D1 CD draft map. I've never even been to Wickenburg, I'm sorry to say. Like in the CD map, Anthem, New River, Desert Hills community is kept whole in Maricopa County. Please do the same in the LD draft map and don't put Maricopa area north of New River in with Yavapai because they're a part of us in Maricopa County. Thank you for listening and our consideration.
Now back to Salt River.
Our next 10 speakers, if you all line up over here. The next speaker is Councilwoman from Scottsdale, Kathy Littlefield, Debbie Nez Manuel, Nigel Chaplin, Margaret Cowley, Roberta Miller, Kathleen Andrews, Carly Weinhager, sorry if I, Tom Andrews, Daisy Duke, Marley Jackson. Councilwoman from Scottsdale, please state your name as you come up to the microphone.
Thank you. And thank you for all of you for sharing this evening with us. I am here as my capacity as councilwoman in the city of Scottsdale because a number of the people here in Scottsdale asked me to come. Good evening. I am here tonight to ask you to keep as much of Scottsdale as possible together in one legislative district. One of the criteria for redistricting is to keep communities of interest together and that they should not be divided into so many legislative districts as the current draft proposes. Along with Rio Verde and Fountain Hills, they should be a part of our district with Scottsdale. We have a community of interest. Your goal should be to maintain as much of that city together as possible. For example, Desert Ridge and Deer Valley Airport should be included in a North Phoenix legislative district. That is their community and that is where their interests are and where the people go. They do not come from North Scottsdale. There is not a community of interest with them here, and they are separate from us. The current draft map could have a detrimental impact in the city that we all love. As a city councilwoman, Scottsdale is in my care and is a responsibility that I take very seriously. So I ask you to carefully consider this feedback for me and for many others who are here tonight. Put us with Fountain Hills, with Rio Verde. That's where our community is. That's where our people go. Thank you very much.
Yate, she a sender kininchle, Selna Bethany Bushes Chin, Set not Jenny Dash Trade, Kabahantashanale, she a late what day I used to that now shot up when the Salt River Indian Community Shavan. Shot Janet, a ta Megan Do Haley Do Shandin Dahlia, although shast he a Royce Manual, or Yen Day.
I'll do the Navajo translation for her. Debbie Nez Manuel just introduced herself in the Navajo language, first introducing her clans, and then she mentioned that she's got children, and then she mentioned that her husband is the late Royce Manuel.
I've lived in the Salt River Pima Maricopa Indian community for 17 years. I've raised 3 children here in Mesa Public Schools. I've served the local tribal community here in a variety of capacities in health and human services for over a decade. I volunteered at schools with an parent organization, and still today I advocate for Native American youth by helping them to organize a nonprofit that serves Native youth and leadership development. Lastly, I worked very closely with my late husband to design this very room. I believe President Martin Javier shared a moment of remembrance earlier. While the entire valley is considered indigenous land base, with the original stewards being the people of this very community, the Accomer O'odham. Today, I'm asking the commission to ensure that our local community is tied to school districts that are currently serving our Native American students in the school district, especially Mesa School District. Second, I want to recognize the value of honoring the cultural ties between the O'odham and the Yavapai Apache people. Keeping these tribal groups together in the larger context of the congressional district just makes sense. Finally, my late husband was a retired 22-year firefighter, and I learned through his service how tied this community is to neighboring communities of Scottsdale, Tempe, and Mesa, with the primary traffic routes of the 101 and the Red Mountain Freeway. I'm asking the commission to please keep these cross-jurisdictional relationships working together. Thank you very much for this opportunity to address you. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Margaret Cawley, and I'm here today to follow up on my comments that I made last Saturday on LD 8, their current map for Tempe, and the East Valley in general. After listening to other public comments at other meetings and reviewing the new draft maps that have been submitted, I'm here to support draft map LD 0061. Now, I'm not going to get into a lot of details because Mr. Kevin Brown earlier mentioned a great many things. I'm here to really point out that I was hesitant to have part of Scottsdale within Tempe. But looking at this new map and listening to everybody, I've realized we're all going to have to compromise to meet the constitutional criteria that are set forth before the commission. And it's been proposed that the LD8 be proposed in this new draft map 0061, that the south part of Tempe would be the baseline and going north, and it would go up into some parts of Scottsdale. And that made sense to me in that I live in that north part, and it is more urban, and more parts of that Scottsdale area they're including is urban also. And many of our concerns are the same in that we're dealing with ASU, we have high density living, and we have traffic concerns, and we have similar types of businesses. So what I would like to advocate is when you're finalizing the East Valley maps, please consider the draft map LD 0061 because it improves the compactness, competitiveness, along with the logical geographic boundaries and while maintaining the population size. Thank you very much.
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the Commission. My name is Roberta Miller. I'm a resident of Tempe. I've lived there for 28 years. I've actually lived in the East Valley since like 1978, going to ASU undergrad, graduate school, and the College of Law, as well as practicing law there. I'm here tonight to urge you to adopt published map LD 0061. I think that map accomplishes a number of things that your current map just does not. I'm going to briefly tell you what I think they are. First of all, it gives each East Valley district roughly equal populations. It preserves geographical compactions compactness of East Valley districts while using city and tribal boundaries as borders. It splits Chandler, Gilbert, Tempe, and Scottsdale each into only 2 districts. It splits Mesa into 3 districts. It creates 2 more competitive districts by moving the Sun Lakes communities from LD 13 to LD 12. And it preserves Latino communities of interest in LDs 9 and 13. Thank you very much for your time and your consideration. As I said, please consider adopting draft map LD 0061. Thank you.
Hello, I am Kathleen Andrews, and I live in McCormick Ranch in Scottsdale. Because I started and ran a non-for-profit called Phoenix Reads for 3 years, I'm very familiar with the South Scottsdale and even all the way into Central Phoenix, and even into the reservation. Every week, my volunteers and I moved beautiful, donated, used children's books to girls and boys clubs, public health clinics, and Head Starts. I also interfaced with Southwest Human Development Organization on 24th Street, and the warehouse where the books were sorted and boxed was located in the area behind 24th Street and Camelback in Phoenix. I came to really know these communities, their needs, and I'm here to tell you that those needs are vastly different than the concerns of McCormick Ranch residents who are mostly retirees, snowbirds, downsizers, and families looking for good neighborhood schools. We do not need to make competition in Arizona. We all need and deserve the full attention of our representatives who are like-minded. We do not share common interests, but mostly we don't share the common needs of these other communities. We really, no matter what appears on the state and federal ballots in the next election, it is all said and done. We can vote for anyone we choose across any political party. So to sum it up, McCormick Ranch needs to remain in Scottsdale, and it needs to go to the corridor, to the Shea corridor, and into Fountain Hills. Sorry, that's really what I'd like to happen. Okay, thank you all, by the way.
My name is Tommy Andrews. I'm an 18-year resident of McCormick Ranch. The task of creating 30 legislative districts and 9 congressional districts is a big job. Over the past 10 years, our state has grown significantly, and recognizing the demographic shifts and the emergence of new communities is important for having a truly representative democracy. The criterion you've been asked to use are important, but not of equal importance. Having similar populations and having physical continuity are obvious requirements. Preserving existing districts where possible is also important because it minimizes disruption for current representation and citizen engagement. The most important objective is grouping communities of interest so that elected officials understand and represent their constituents. This is the essence of our representative democracy. For the National Conference of State Legislators, the competitiveness of a district is only to be considered if it does not come at the expense of all other attributes. Trying to predetermine the outcome of a district's election by creating unnatural boundaries is gerrymandering. Just look at a boundary map and you will see where it is happening. For example, including a small section of Central Phoenix in the southwest corner of CD1 is gerrymandering for the goal of creating a more competitive CD1. Look at LD8. Placing McCormick Ranch with South Scottsdale, Tempe, and the reservation is ridiculous when it obviously belongs with DC Ranch, the Shea Corridor, Fountain Hills, and Rio Verde, as it has for the past 10 years. With over 30% of registered voters self-identified as independents or party not declared, it is hubris to suggest anyone knows how a district is going to vote. It should be the candidates and the voters that determine elections, not unnatural gerrymandered district boundaries.
Yes. Good evening. My name is Harley Wheatonhagen. I live on East Terra Drive in Scottsdale. I do appreciate very much your efforts in this. This is a thankless task and a tough one. I was in the commercial real estate business and the broadcast television business for too close to 50 years that I want to talk about. Back in the Midwest, I've been here 3 years. This is where I am for the rest of my days on this planet. My wife and I had a lot of different areas in the metro to pick from when we decided to move about 3 years ago. Scottsdale was where we ended up. And it's because of communities of interest. And I realized one of the speakers earlier spoke about communities of interest, including things like water usage and legal things, police, and they do. That's absolutely true. But those things tend to go along with the communities of interest of other things like retail, environment, or entertainment, restaurant options, clubs, resorts that cater, synagogues, churches that cater to that particular area. They all go together as a community of interest. And I don't discount the legal aspects, the water usage and those things as being a common interest and that they should be put together. I'm here to propose to leave LD 23, which is where I am, as close in the future as it is now. I know it changes numbers, but to leave it. That is a community of interest. I see it so easily in my 3 years of being here. Extensive district boundary changes are not, are really uncalled for. I mean, you have criteria. I hope that you stand by those criteria, but communities of interest, I think, is the most important one, as the last speaker said. I urge you to reconsider the current plan map and keep it as I've just stated. Thank you very much. I do appreciate it.
Hi, my name is Daisy. I'm a student at ASU and I live in Tempe. Thank you, Commission, for the opportunity to speak. Thank you also for keeping the ASU neighborhoods together as well as keeping parts of South Scottsdale together with Tempe. I hope that you continue to do so in the final maps as well. I think it's a strong community of young folks and other similar folks, and it helps for us to be able to elect someone who will represent our interests. And when possible, please keep districts competitive so that elected officials must fight for all community votes. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Harley. I live in Tempe currently, but have lived through the East Valley my entire life, from Queen Creek to Mesa to where I currently live in Tempe. I wanted to start by saying I like how you have been able to connect Tempe with parts of South Scottsdale, where there are a lot of similarities. Having grown up in different parts of the East Valley, I do feel like there are more communities split as you go east. A lot of folks have rightly spoken to the problems of the Panhandle and Gilbert being split so many ways, so I won't bore you too much with that. I just feel like you could move a large part of the central and South Gilbert into the district to its east, 14, where my family currently resides. And that way it wouldn't be in everyone's least favorite panhandle. Thank you, Commission, for your time.
We will now turn it back over to Anthem.
Thank you, Michelle. Our next 5 speakers are Tracy Martin, Gary Saxhang, Renee Ward, Crystal Bizarnik, and Marianne Bouchard.
Hello, my name's Tracy Martin,
and I live in the New River, Anthem, and Desert Hills in unincorporated Maricopa County. The current version of the legislative district map cuts off a small portion of the Dead Man Wash precinct that is just south of Carefree Highway. The reason it should remain included as it is today is because the other three sides are open space. It's part of the Sonoran Preserve land. It would make more sense to keep this portion connected as it currently is to prevent that land from becoming an island. A close-up view of the map will show that there are no roads to connect them except to the north across Carefree Highway. The other precinct with a similar issue is Dove Valley. It is also an area of irregular roads and limited access. Leaving this precinct intact will maintain community of interest ideals. Breaking it as proposed would split across neighborhoods and the local school boundary and separate them from the I-17 corridor. The north line of the legislative district should extend to the Maricopa County line north of New River. This is a rural area with a small population. And in addition to being the county line, this is also the northern boundary for Deer Valley Unified School District. It is my understanding that the people in the Wickenburg area would prefer to be in District 5 in Yavapai County, as that represents their communities of interest better than District 28. This would help balance population, as previously mentioned. The proposed map includes communities far to the east and south that are dissimilar and need to be down the I-17 corridor to the west. Thank you. I have maps to support this.
Good evening. My name is Gary Saxog. I live in Anthem, Maricopa County. My wife and I are a retired couple. I'm a Marine Corps veteran of the Vietnam era and worked 40 years in the field of electronics, first in the military and the last 30 years for General Electric healthcare systems. Our neighbors and friends and most of the people of our community get their groceries, haircuts, entertainment locally. And I think that we can define as including Anthem, Desert Hills, Tremonto, basically all along the Carefree Highway corridor and I-17 from New River down to Happy Valley Road in the Norterra area. This is what I would consider our community of interest. We are Congressional District 8 at this time and are very happy to remain in CD8 as we have been for quite some time. Congressional District draft map of CD1, which has a large area east extending down to Phoenix and Scottsdale. That is not our community of interest. Consider moving that portion to CD5. I also recommend that that area south of Happy Valley Road and east of I-17 be moved to CD8 and not included in CT1. So Anthem and New River south of Happy Valley Road can be moved to CD8. I have attached maps to include these changes. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Renee Ward, and I live in the Vistancia area of northern Peoria. We used to be in LD 22, and the proposal is to move us to Legislative District 28, which is more rural and goes up to Wickenburg. And as many of the people here from Anthem have said, that is a very rural area. The area that we live in is metropolitan, urban. You have split the area, you've split Peoria, taking the area, one of the fastest growing areas of Arizona, the Vistancia area, Peoria, Trilogy, Blackstone, and put us in with rural people with whom we have very little interest. We do our shopping and everything in Peoria or Glendale. It just doesn't make any sense that you would spin us off into no man's land. Like one lady said, she's never even been to Wickenburg. And I think that goes for many of us that you are now put together with them. The other thing is we were in Congressional District 8, and now you'll put us in 9. That District 9 goes all the way to the Utah-Nevada border, and you have segued off a whole chunk of Maricopa County to be in that congressional district, which has very little to do with any of our interests in Vistancia or Peoria. Thank you.
Hello, Commissioners. My name is Crystal Bazarnik. I've been a homeowner in Sonoran Foothills, which is just south of Anthem, east of I-17, for 11 years, and a resident of Arizona for 36 years. I'm speaking today on behalf of my community of interest, the North I-17 corridor from the Loop 101 to Anthem and New River, east and west of I-17. The North 17 freeway is the heart of our community. Our area is experiencing extensive growth, which has been accelerated by the addition of a new semiconductor plant, which will bring in thousands of single and multifamily homes, along with additional schools, dining, and retail. It's important that as we grow, we have legislative representation from our area who will represent our community's interests. The legislative draft map as drawn does not meet the criteria of compactness and contiguousness. While some areas of our state do require inclusion in large sprawling districts due to the geography and small rural populations, our community does not fall into that category. It would be easy to build a compact, contiguous, and yes, more competitive district. Our community of interest also has nothing in common with beautiful Wickenburg. I have been there, it's beautiful. And all of the rural desert areas to the northwest of the valley. Our corridor is comprised of Phoenix suburbs, which should be drawn into a compact district with our community of interest kept together. I would also like to point out that I'm on the board of the current LD1 Democrats, and we in the LD1 Republicans agree that our community should be kept together in a district. This goes beyond partisanship and competitiveness. We are all here today because we care deeply about our community and its future. Thank you for separating us from Yavapai County, and thank you for making CD1 a fair district and a fair congressional map. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Marianne Bouchard, and I have been a resident of New River for 22 and a half years, and I can't believe that a horse owner has never been to Wickenburg because it rocks. But anyway, first off, I want to just second everything that Crystal Bazarnik had to say. And I knew what she was going to say, so I'm just going to cover very briefly my feeling as a member of the New River community. It is rural, but everything that we do, basically, as people have said, all of our shopping, work, doctors, entertainment are all along the North I-17 corridor. And much as I love Wickenburg, it is very rural, it's agricultural, and that proposed LD 28 goes all the way to the far western border with La Paz County. And we just really don't have much in common with that community. It is important to have politically balanced districts to encourage better representation in the legislature, and it would also provide greater accessibility of members of the legislature if it wasn't such far-reaching in terms of land to the west. Anyway, to have more accessibility of the members of the legislature with their to their constituents. Anyway, I appreciate that the commission has separated out Yavapai County, and but I would like to see Wickenburg and far western Maricopa County removed from the proposed LD 28. And thank you.
Thank you. Our last 5 speakers are Basil Furnamos, Susan Gannon, Tom Gannon, Edward Abbott, and Deborah Trudeau.
Good evening. My name is Basil Furnamos. I live here in Anthem. I've been a business owner since 2015. It's really important to us up here in Anthem and everyone in all the different districts to make sure that we have communities of interest. It's just vitally important to us, obviously, and it's vitally important to other communities too. Most of my time is spent up here in Anthem, up in the North Valley, the I-17 corridor. My kids went to Deer Valley schools. We live in 85086. The surrounding areas, as I've said, is our community of interest. We do not want to be lumped with the inner city of Phoenix. It's just not who we are. The other thing that I'm really concerned about is, and I'm sure the board is doing this, but following the Constitution of Arizona and the 6 criteria that's set forth to make sure our boundaries and our maps are drawn properly. We want to have equal population in our districts and in our communities, and they should accurately represent who we are as residents. We choose to live in these areas. We can live anywhere we want, but we choose to live in, for instance, I chose to live in Anthem because it's, in the North Valley. It's beautiful up here. If I wanted to live in the city, I would. And I guess in closing, I just want to say, don't lump us with dissimilar communities of interest. It's just not going to work. I'm not going to give you any numbers or how to move these maps around because that's just not the kind of person I am. I just wanted to just reflect my opinion on what it should be done and how we should follow the Constitution. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Susan Gannon, and I appreciate the moment to speak to you all, and thank you for allowing us to be here. I do have some concerns of both the LD and the CD districts that are drawn currently. For the LD 28, I agree with most people here that Wickenburg and Whitman are not representative of our area because they are more rural. I do believe that the northern part of Maricopa, which is now lumped into the Yavapai County, should be kept and contained within the Maricopa County. Also, the southern part of Carefree Highway, Tremonto, Happy Valley, the shopping area around there, should be also included in that LD district. So for the CD district, I've been hearing a lot of people here, a lot of people in the Salt River area that are talking about we don't do the same type of shoppings, communities. I have been a resident of Arizona for more than 40 years, mostly on the west side, and I do my shopping currently in the west side, Anthem area, just around the 101, Happy Valley area, Arrowhead. I rarely go to Scottsdale area. And I barely go to Desert Ridge. So I would recommend that the section of the Anthem area remain with the CD8 district that we are currently in. Thank you.
My name is Tom Gannon. I've lived for several years in Anthem, and I'd like to address the CD8 first. I-17 and the development along I-17 is key to our future, and all those economic issues are central to how our future is going to be in Anthem. And from what I've heard, I'm new to this process. There's a commonality where the people in Scottsdale in that area don't shop, don't worship where we are, and we don't share interests and don't shop where they are. So I do think that it would make sense to make that change so that we can be with CD8 like we currently are. That's our community of interest, and that's what makes sense. I lived for several years in Prescott, so I have been to Wickenburg. It's very nice there, but I felt a lot more at home when I was in Prescott and Wickenburg because we're very similar communities and would make sense to keep them together. Anthem is urban, as people have indicated, and I just think it does make sense. We are the very tip of Anthem. Actually, when we had a foster child, she would have gone to school in that northern part of the area because it's part of the Deer Valley District. So it just makes sense to extend it to that northern boundary. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Ed Abbott. I've been a resident of Anthem since 2009. We should not be trying to piece together a unrelated mosaic for political purposes, but rather we need a contiguous area of communities of interest, common interest. The common interest for the 17 corridor from north of 101 has grown tremendously in the past 10 years. And it's going to grow even more in the next 10 years. And how can we predict that with certainty? Because there's going to be a very large industrial park, and it's already under in construction. This is going to employ a great number of people. It's going to be a magnet of high-tech employment for this area. And that area is going to go to the south to the 101, north to Black Canyon, east probably to Cave Creek, and west maybe to Lake Pleasant. But there's no telling in the next 10 years the growth that's going to take place. And this is a common area. Now it's mainly a service area, but it is going to be a big industrial area. It's going to be full of young and very aggressive and very interesting people, yours truly accepted. But I am looking forward to that, and we should all be together. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Deborah Trudeau, and I live in the gated community in Anthem, Arizona. I moved to Arizona 1 year ago from another state. My husband and I deliberately moved to Anthem because of its proximity to North Phoenix services, including the availability of multiple medical professionals and facilities, the wide variety of shopping centers and malls, the convenience of transportation coupled with a well-developed transportation element evidenced by Highway 17, 303, and 101. And to be close to our church community, as well as to be near to other family members and friends who live in the metro area. Although we did look, at real estate in the more rural areas, we chose to live in the urban setting, enjoying urban services. We currently reside in what is now Legislative District 28. Anthem was correctly added to Legislative District 28 on the west side of Highway 17, and we should also remain in the Congressional District on the west side of Highway 17. Anthem and New River are more aligned with similar communities such as Vistancia, West Wing, and the Arrowhead area of Peoria, where my husband and I attend many medical appointments and do most of our shopping. Please reconsider leaving Anthem and New River in the Congressional District east of Highway 17, which is currently CD 8. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We will now take a quick 10-minute break to give our transcriptionist a break, and we will resume at 7:37 promptly back at Salt River. Thank you.
Hello? If we can start finding our seats, and I'm going to start calling the next 10 speakers. If you will please listen for your name and line up against this wall over on this side. The first speaker is Rick Curry, Jamie Urich, Sherry Lopez, Joseph Junker, Lynn Hahn, Robert Hawthorne, Michael Schaffner, Jackie, I'm not sure. I can't read the last name. I think that might be an LmeruLmer. Paul Rowe, Paul Shabring, Nicole Mccluskey. And when you come up to the podium or to the microphone, can you please state your name? Nicole, or I'm sorry, first speaker.
Hi, I'm Rick Curry. I am the president of McCormick Ranch Property Owners Association. McCormick Ranch consists of 67 subdivisions with approximately 27,000 residents in total. After hearing the proposal to split McCormick Ranch down Hayden into 2 different legislative districts, our board passed a resolution to keep McCormick Ranch together in 1 district. Also, after discussing this in our last board meeting, the board feels that McCormick Ranch has very little, if anything, in common with Tempe, South Scottsdale, Old Town, or the Salt River Tribe. We do, however, all feel that we have many things in common with Paradise Valley. Together, McCormick Ranch and Paradise Valley would make a community of interest. Given these conditions, we strongly urge the Commission to include McCormick Ranch in Legislative District 4 with Paradise Valley, rather than in Legislative District 8 with South Scottsdale and the Salt River Tribe. Thank you all for your consideration in this matter.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Jamie Urich. I'm the Executive Director for McCormick Ranch. McCormick Ranch is one of the first and remains one of the largest master plan communities in the Western United States. We have 8,004 single-family homes, 912 apartment units, and over 400 businesses, including Honor Health Shea. McCormick Ranch borders are Shea to the north, Indian Bend to the south, Scottsdale Road to the west, and 96th Street to the east. We have a 9-member board that works on behalf of the association and often requires working with local leaders. To split the association could put members at odds regarding important issues. Our board of directors, on behalf of over 20,000 residents, request that you keep the entire association in District 4. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you for this opportunity to speak. My name is Sherry Lopez, and I want to share my concerns about the redistricting boundaries. I live in far north Scottsdale on the way to Bartlett Lake. The community I live in is very quiet, space between our homes, mainly retirees or those soon to retire, and snowbirds. Looking over the proposed redistricting boundaries, I noticed that my community, which mainly consists of North Scottsdale, Rio Verde, and Fountain Hills, will drastically change and will be combined with other communities that are more urban and densely populated than mine, such as Deer Valley to the I-17 and even Midtown Phoenix. These may be beautiful communities, however, the interests are very different, such as families with young children all the way out into Desert Ridge, Deer Valley, and then the very densely populated Midtown Phoenix that's represented in D1. I very rarely go into these areas and mainly stay in my community of North Scottsdale. I truly feel that the proposed redistricting boundaries will drastically impact my future votes, as the densely proposed populated areas will cancel my voice. I respectfully ask that you keep the communities of Scottsdale, Rio Verde, and Fountain Hills together as we share commonalities. Thank you.
Chairman Newberg, Vice Chairman Watchman, and Board, I really appreciate the opportunity to present to you. My name is Joe Junker. I'm a tech consulting. I work in a tech consulting firm, licensed active real estate agent in Grand Canyon University, adjunct professor. It's a great honor to be here. You've heard a lot from my neighbors. I live in McCormick Ranch, and I also would echo what Tommy Andrews had mentioned earlier, is that McCormick Ranch appears to be some sort of tag on the end of a gerrymandered area. Unfortunately, a line for District 4, it doesn't make sense. And I'll give you another thing that perhaps Councilman Littlefield mentioned. She mentioned about the keeping a city together. Other people are urging you to listen to the Constitution. There's actually two reasons why you could consider this keeping Scottsdale together, as well as the McCormick Ranch, keeping it whole. Is that besides respecting community of interest, which you've heard a lot about, you actually have the other thing that talks about city, town, and county boundaries should be respected. So I would hope that you try to consider that and do as much as you can to keep Scottsdale together in one place. Secondly, and that's regarding the legislative districts. Lastly, on the CD1, I'd like to comment a little bit on that. Speaking of gerrymandering, what I think I see is a corner of Alhambra and Canto and Camelback East. Those seem to be pulled out and put into the CD1 on the west end. It's a square that's very clean. Glendale on the north, I-10 on the south, I-17 on the west, and the 51 on the east. I feel that's out of place, particularly to all the neighbors and everything that's in CD1 there. So I'd respectfully ask that you consider a change to that, as well as, like we talked about, keep Scottsdale whole and help keep the consistency of legislative districts so we're able to be functional, elect officials, and work with people who understand us. Thank you very much for your time.
Good evening, Madam Chair and the Commission. My name is Lynn Melser Khan. Being a fourth-generation Phoenician, I have lived in Maricopa County since 1950, in Phoenix, Tempe, and Paradise Valley. Legislative District 4 is a suburban district with mostly single-family homes. The Commission consider it to be north of Chaparral Road to Dynamite Road, Highway 51 to Scottsdale Road. This is where I shop, go to dinner, send my children to public schools, and attend religious services. Areas south of Chaparral are urban with high-density businesses and housing. They should be with Tempe District 8 and Phoenix District 1. West of 51, north of Cactus, should be District 2. Proposed Congressional District 1 ignores communities of interest, is not connecting and compact, and ignores city boundaries. District 1 should be Osborne Road north to the county line above Cave Creek, Carefree, and Desert Mountain. Highway 17 east to Highway 101 Pima, including Fountain Hills. Including Phoenix, the Alhambra, and Canto, Camelback East districts are wrong. They are highly dense in population, businesses, and urban housing. They should be with District 3, where they belong. They have nothing in common with Scottsdale or Paradise Valley. South of Camelback should be District 3 and Tempe District 4, as they are communities of interest. Thank you for your time. I hope you will listen to my concerns and consider my suggestions. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Robert Bob Hathorn. I've resided in the northeast quarter of Scottsdale for the past 23 years, and I'm 84 years young. I grew up in the northern suburbs of Chicago after graduation from the University of Denver and serving in the United States Army and working within the industrial publishing industry for 20 years. I, with a partner, became entrepreneurs, i.e. risk takers. and started a printing company in the western suburbs. One of our major companies was the Dial Corporation, i.e. Dial Soap. I therefore traveled from Chicago to Phoenix a minimum of 6 trips per year. My wife accompanied me, especially in the winter. I bought after several years, we looked at each other and agreed that Arizona, Scottsdale would be a wonderful area to retire. I bought property in 1987. After selling our company, we moved into our new home in December of 1987, became legal residents of Scottsdale, Arizona in 1998. We made a great decision, Scottsdale, and we've never second-guessed ourselves. We believe in community values, common interests. We believe in the suburban concept of single-family homes. This is what we invested in. Our neighbors, being Carefree in the eastern portion of Cave Creek, are just that, neighbors. We frequent many restaurants within Carefree and Cave Creek. We shop in both communities, especially Bash's grocery store. The long and the short of us, we need them, they need us. We are neighbors. Common interests. The same interests and values hold true for the Rio Verde area as well as Fountain Hills neighbors. What or where we do not have common interests or common values and are not neighbors is the western portion of your redistricting to include Desert Ridge. And my time's up. I've got a lot to say. I urge you to keep common interests, common values, and neighbors together. Thank you.
Thank you for being here tonight. My name is Michael Shafer. I'm lived in Scottsdale for 40 years. I'm a Christian precinct committeeman, a conservative, and a businessman. I just to get some boundaries down. I think west and east of Scottsdale Road should be separate. The right side of it is Scottsdale. Fountain Hills and Rio Verde should be together. If you're going to split Tempe, do it at Indian Bend. Our country, it's so funny to be in this meeting when in the middle of us being here, our country, I'm watching our country be destroyed. We don't want it destroyed. Many of us believe that there are agendas afoot to misguide our elections. There are agendas to thwart the will of the citizens that are here tonight representing their positions, including reworking the voting boundaries to turn red to blue. We know the election was stolen. We're looking at this proposed map, and I question, who thought to put this all the way out to I-17? That, for me, smells. I'm looking at that map, and I just question the agenda of the map makers. I caution this group, this committee, about foul play in our maps. I ask you to do what's right. We are against anything that leads to stealing elections. I hate that. So don't mess with our maps. Do what's right and keep people that are common, that do the same things in the same area together like we've been together. Keep LD 23 as close as you can to what it is. I appreciate the time tonight, and I hope that you take these things to heart. God bless you all.
At this time, I'd like to remind the audience that whenever there's clapping and somebody's up here speaking, it interferes. So people that are watching live cannot hear the speaker. So if we can keep the clapping down until after the speaker has been done, we'd appreciate that for the listening audience out there.
Hi, I'm Jackie Ulmer, and thank you for what must surely be a very trying task, trying to please all the people. It's impossible. I'm a far north Scottsdale resident bordering Cave Creek, Carefree, and Phoenix. Currently LD 23 and now in current approved map LD 3. Scottsdale, Fountain Hills, and Rio Verde are western suburban cities and towns. North Phoenix and I-17 are urban. These areas are not the same. Our communities of interest are different and shouldn't be in the same district. The further west one goes after passing Cave Creek Road, the more different the whole feel of the communities are. My husband and I actually looked at the exact same floor plan and builder of our current home about 5 miles west of the North Scottsdale neighborhood we ultimately bought in and chose as our neighborhood because of the feel and culture of the community. Also, moving the southern Scottsdale border to shade dramatically alters our community of interest. Please consider moving the southern boundary back south to Camelback, perhaps, and the west border back east to slightly west of Cave Creek Road to keep Scottsdale and the cities of Cave Creek and Carefree aligned. I love that Carefree and Cave Creek have been put in with us. Scottsdale should stay united in a district. I think it's clear from the prior comments from our friends in Anthem who've indicated that people in the area of Anthem, North Phoenix, and the I-17 agree with this as well. The same is true of Congressional District 1. Please rework our area and keep Scottsdale intact and keep these other communities aligned with common interests as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen of the commission, thank you for the opportunity to address you this evening. My name is Paul Rowe. I've been a resident of Northeast Phoenix and Scottsdale for more than 45 years, on and off since 1958, and currently reside near Old Town Scottsdale. I live, shop, and spend much of my free time in the area. It is in the best interest of Scottsdale and the immediate surrounding area that they are part of the same legislative and, to the extent possible, congressional district. This will maintain the compact and contiguous communities of interest that is one of the Commission's primary responsibilities in drawing up new districts in the state for the next 10 years. Scottsdale and the neighboring communities of Fountain Hills and Rio Verde are historically Western cities that are largely suburban, family-oriented, and retirement areas. As such, it is highly desirable that they remain in the same state legislative district and are contained in the same congressional district. In addition, that congressional district ought to be apportioned to the extent possible with other immediate areas that share a homogeneity of community interest, including areas of Phoenix that extend as far west as some 20 plus miles to Interstate 17 and north to Anthem makes no logical sense. Arizona state constitution requires that the commission take into account a number of provisions to fulfill its mandate. Among these are the requirements for compact and contiguous districts, communities of interest, and potential competitiveness. Only by keeping Scottsdale in the same legislative district and drawing the congressional map in as geographically compact areas as possible can the commission satisfy these requirements. It is incumbent on the commission to establish districts for the state, and specifically this area, that adhere to the state constitution and satisfy the needs of the residents of the area. It depends upon your fair-mindedness and impartiality to achieve this mission. Thank you for your time and attention.
Good evening. My name is Paul Schubring. Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the Commission for allowing us to speak. I live in Gilbert. I'm a co-owner of two technologies companies. We are a global manufacturer of products that supply companies in the US, Europe, Asia, and we even export. We export a lot of products to China. I'm speaking on behalf of myself and other business owners in the town of Gilbert. I appreciate the diligence and hard work by the Commission so far and know that the majority, on a good day, you only hear criticism, so I empathize with your job. I truly do my best to stay away from it, but I'm here to strongly speak against version 10 map that rips up Gilbert and divides it into 5 different districts, thus abandoning any semblance of community interest and not respecting the city and town borders. Here's how disruptive the current proposal is. I live 1.2 miles from my grocery store and it's in another district. I can drive 1.1 miles to a Trader Joe's that's in a different district, or I could drive 18 miles to one that's in the same district. Location of my business is 6 miles away and I cross all 5 districts and I'm still in Gilbert, and even my church crosses all 5, and my son's high school is in a separate LD. So I'm just at a loss when I have an issue. Who do I call and who do I work with when I have a legislative issue? Further, I also believe that the commission is doing a tremendous disservice to the students of Mesa, Gilbert, Kyrene, and Chandler school districts, specifically where LD 12 has 4 different school districts. We heard from the Navajo Nation about the importance of keeping those school districts intact, and I fully support that. I didn't just come to throw rocks. I did come with some maps, and I don't know if I can upload them, but basically kind of a key one is taking LD 12 and essentially stopping it on the border and basically following the school districts and minimizing. The maps I came up with are minimizing all of the disruptions to school districts, maintain that. If there's a site, I will try to upload it, but basically it's stopping the border at LD 12. But
Welcome to leave those maps.
okay.
For the commissioners, and also we have on most Mondays, Mapping Monday with Mark. And so if anybody would like personal help or tutoring to get your map uploaded into our system, Mark is wonderful to guide you through that. So look for that option on our website.
Hello. Hi, my name is Nicole Mccluskey, and I live in the U.S. for 25 years, including 20 years in Scottsdale. I'm almost retired voice and piano teacher, and I live in the Scottsdale and Shea area. So where I spend most time in North Scottsdale, Fountain Hills, Central Scottsdale, I go to restaurants there. I most of the time shop there, unless I go to Phoenix downtown, maybe for once or twice a year for some kind of concert. So I don't understand why we should split Scottsdale in 3 districts. I think now we have 2, right? And especially to connect to our area, Central Scottsdale, Central Phoenix, doesn't make any sense to me. Anyways, so I think that Scottsdale is known as a very artistic area, which that's why I live there. I love it. Safe artistic area. And I'm asking to keep Scottsdale together with a western boundary of Scottsdale city limits. Unless it's a political issue, I don't understand why we are changing those maps. Thank you.
I will be calling up the next 10 speakers. First one is Gregory Woodowski, Karen Garrett, Cindy Sullivan, Craig Stefan, Patty O'Neill, Joyce Rydell, Paul Rydell, John Hassett, Thea Hassett, David Bonifield, David, Greg,
Thank you. Good evening, Commissioners. Chair Newberg, Vice Chair Watchman, Commissioner York, Lerner, and Meal. Thank you for your dedication in upholding the Arizona Constitution, the 6 constituent components outlined therein, and the strict purpose of guiding the Commission on this most serious process of fair redistricting, and for ensuring fair election representation for all legal Arizona citizens. The 6 constituent components, which I'm sure you're very clear on, I will mention as equal population, compactness and contiguous, compliance with the U.S. Constitution, respect for communities of interest, incorporation of visible geographic features, etc., and the creation of competitive districts where there is no significant detriment to other goals. I'm a U.S. citizen, resident of Maricopa County and Fountain Hills resident for 28 years. I'm employed for 37 years as an engineer and an IT professional. My spouse and I are proud to have raised our children in Fountain Hills and consider Fountain Hills, Scottsdale, Rio Verde, and nearby communities of interest. Our children graduated successfully from ASU and SCC, where we are here tonight. Our family and neighbors live, work, shop, recreate, attend church, and leverage medical services in the community of interest. My office, our pharmacy, and other services reside in the Old Town Scottsdale area of Scottsdale, and logically consider this our community of interest. I feel that the current maps have separated us from those areas. Fountain Hills, Scottsdale, and Rio Verde are visibly suburban and primarily quasi-rural and family communities, while South Scottsdale, Tempe, ASU area, and adjoining Central Phoenix are generally a younger demographic, and rightfully so, represents denser urban communities, denser urban amenities, and those urban needs. These are two quite diverse and distinct communities of interest and are not congruent to accurately representing the proposed Congressional District 1. I respectfully request the Commission to remove some of those areas and please take all those things into consideration. Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Karen Garrett. I appreciate all the work that you do. The time and effort in this is heroic. I've lived in the Scottsdale area for 41 years. I am in the current drawn LD3, and I'm going to do this from a more of an emotional standpoint. If all of us in this room that you have heard that live in Scottsdale stood in lines, we would probably be in 3 different lines. And I know most of these people. And to be able to say that is very disheartening to me. In your last draft map, final day of draft mapping, when Sunny Slope was put into 2, you asked to have that reviewed. And the mappers went and they came back and changed Scottsdale. I remember having listened to it that one of the commissioners mentioned that fact that had happened and that it needed to be addressed. And you said, we're going to finalize these maps today and we will address those issues afterwards. I appreciated saying that, but the angst that you created by doing Sunny Slope into District 2 and what it did to Scottsdale has created weeks of angst, and we have no idea what you're going to do to put it back, but I hope you do. Congressional District 1 needs to have Central Phoenix removed from it, however the best you're able to do that. Thank you for your time.
Hi, Commissioners. Thank you so much for being here tonight and allowing me to share my views. My name is Cindy Sullivan, and I live in Cave Creek. My husband and I were drawn to Cave Creek 20 years ago because of the Western lifestyle that we found there. I love that our neck of the woods is far enough away from the big city, yet still has amenities nearby. My grocery store, Ace Hardware, restaurants, doctors, they're all within a short drive. But that's what people do when they start to look for a place to live. They look for communities that provide what is needed, plus have the lifestyle and similar interests that we desire. That's what I hope to find in someone who represents me in the government, someone who knows and can relate to what is important to me. While I like Midtown Phoenix and Old Town Scottsdale, their urban millennial lifestyles, interests, and needs are far different from my own. Finding congressional representation for one would neglect the other. Merging our areas for the sake of competitiveness is a detriment to other criteria. And besides, seriously, it's a day trip just to go down and visit them. A representative would need to cover 30 miles just to keep a working relationship with their constituents. Central Phoenix and South Scottsdale would be better served with their neighboring communities of similar interests as we would in the North Valley. Please keep communities of interest and compactness in mind, as well as adhering to the Arizona Constitution when drawing these maps. Thank you so much for your time and consideration.
Hello, my name is Craig Steffen. I practiced law in Maricopa County for 38 years. I've lived and practiced in Scottsdale for over 30 years. I actually grew up in Scottsdale, went to elementary school here. My parents bought a house around 68th Street and McDowell for $16,500 in 1958. So I've seen a lot of Scottsdale and a lot of growth. There are a lot of people here today who are concerned about Scottsdale being chop blocked in these maps. And I think there are a couple of things that can be done to fix this. One is Scottsdale Road is the primary north-south artery. That should be the western boundary of LD3. LD3, in my opinion, should extend down through all of Scottsdale to about Chaparral. The second, LD8 should be Chaparral Road south, continuing into Tempe. Tempe and South Scottsdale now have a greater affinity. A lot of that has to do with ASU, the Sky Song development, a lot of high density housing along McDowell Road, and higher density lifestyle south of Chaparral. So my recommendation would be two very simple LDs, LD3, Scottsdale Road on the west, down to Chaparral, and LD8, which would be south of Chaparral into Tempe. LD4, that eastern boundary should be Scottsdale Road all the way. There should be no cutout there in McCormick Ranch. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Patty O'Neill. Good evening, and thank you to this board for a terrific job you have done. I know it's difficult. Not everybody's going to be happy. I know that there are many cities in the past and looking in the future that will be split in different parts. But I'm here to say that I live in LD23, and my initial comments back in the summer was to keep SUSD together as a community of interest. However, I do want to say that the last draft maps of the 10.2 were very well done and appear to need some minor tweaks and adjustments, such as precincts that are in one district and split in another district. I would like to point out that there are some districts that benefit one party over another, but in its entirety, I believe that this group of maps will provide a chance for a fair representation at the state level. Thank you and good night.
My name is Joyce Rydell, and I wrote this because I wanted to remember everything. I do have one thought that I don't have written down here, and that is as far as competitiveness is concerned. I've heard a lot of people speaking about that tonight. Our demographics are changing so rapidly. I don't think any of us can predict where that's going. For me, there's a lot of new people around where I live. So I just wanted to say that for what it's worth. Anyway, my name is Joyce Rydell. I live in the Greyhawk subdivision in North Scottsdale. My husband and I are retired, and after owning a small business for many years, we moved to Arizona, actually Sun Lakes. And we were there for 15 years and eventually to the Scottsdale area for its relaxed and open air ambiance. We also considered the many other retirees in the community as an asset. And not least, we have grandchildren nearby. In my community, we are situated close to the McDowell Mountains. We enjoy the wildlife, the trails, and hiking or walking. Nearby, we have many restaurants, shopping opportunities, and good medical facilities, all important for retirees. I am here to request you to include Scottsdale, Fountain Hills, and Rio Verde in our legislative district, drawing the line at the eastern side of the city at Scottsdale Road. These are the communities of interest to us. We rarely go outside of that area. Please not include the bustling areas of Desert Ridge and Deer Valley industrial area. We very rarely travel there and are familiar in that area. Also, in regard to congressional district number 1, Central Phoenix is urban and has nothing to do with suburban Scottsdale. Please remove Central Phoenix from congressional district number 1. And I'm asking you to readjust the maps so that our elected representatives can better focus on the communities of interest and their issues. Thank you very much.
My name is Paul Rydell. My wife just did such a good job. I don't have too much different to say, except I kind of focus on a couple of things. That the geographic integrity of an area, I think you all probably are focused on that, and I think that is very, very important. Like she said, we live in the Greyhawk area. You go up 101 and get off on Pima and go up a couple of miles. That area, that whole greater northern Scottsdale area, including the other 2 little communities, are pretty much the same. And together with the shopping area in Bell Road and all of that, it makes one big geographic area that we think should be kept intact. It doesn't need to have the Deer Valley and all that area. My other point was for representatives to represent a community, they need to have a real sense of community, not a little bit over here and a little bit over there, and people in apartments over here and people with horses over there. It is difficult, I imagine. I've never been a representative, but I imagine it would be real difficult for a person to represent a broken up community like that. So that was something also that I was very interested in, expressing that I personally am thinking about the person that's representing us and how difficult it would be for them to do that. So keep Scottsdale intact as best as you can, Scottsdale Road and somewhere around where we are up north. That makes sense to me. Thank you very much.
Good evening, commissioners, and thank you. My name is John Hassett. I live near PV High School. It's in the proposed LD4. Currently, I think LD4 goes too far south. If it went north past Dynamite and hit an eastern border of the city of Scottsdale, I think the elected official would be much more representative of the community they represent. Similarly, CD1 should not extend into central Phoenix, but should go further north and not as far west as it currently does. During the evening, I've heard a lot of people comment on D3 as well. We lived in North Scottsdale for many years. I just wanted to add that I agree with their comments stating that a district that extends from Fountain Hills to Anthem would be too large for one person to properly represent. Also, I didn't know I was going to say this, so hopefully it comes across to make sense, but I heard a cargo pilot, retired cargo pilot, speak earlier this evening. And I'm a pilot as well, and I have to agree with his sentiments. I've been to a lot of countries, and one thing I've noticed is none of them are like here, and they just all seem to suffer from corruption. And I want to thank you guys for making sure that the government stays right, that we have our rights, and that our voices are preserved. Thank you.
Good evening, commissioners. My name is Thea Hassett. That was my husband, of course. We live near 40th Street in Bell, which is in the proposed LD4. The Central Phoenix area goes too far south and does not represent our area, which is comprised of single-family homes. We go to church, volunteer, live, shop, and eat between Paradise Valley Mall, Desert Ridge, and further north. We feel the eastern border should be the Scottsdale city line. For the same reason, proposed CD1 should not include the Central Phoenix area either.
Thank you for taking the time to review and consider everyone's comments. Have a good night.
Hello, my name is David Bonfilio. I'm a lawyer here in Scottsdale, Arizona. And I've lived in Scottsdale and Paradise Valley and Old Town Scottsdale for the past 28 years. And one thing we've got here is that you guys have an obligation to uphold the Constitution. And the way you're cutting these things up, that's not happening. Now, we've got legislators and elected officials who have to represent us. When they talk about in the Constitution, community of interest, there's no way a representative voted for by people in Scottsdale have the same interests and represent the same interests that somebody that's from ASU down in Tempe or up in Anthem. He's got an obligation, and you're creating a conflict for our elected officials by doing what you're doing. There's no way a representative can represent people in Scottsdale and also the people in Phoenix. It is impossible. And you're creating a situation where politicians become even more hated and denigrated because they have to tell people in Phoenix one thing and then people in Scottsdale another thing. And you have not upheld your constitutional obligation to put people in like-minded areas with the representatives they need to uphold their values and their thought processes. I don't live in Phoenix. I don't live in central Phoenix. I live in Scottsdale. I've been driving up Scottsdale Road for almost 28 years. And I see the traffic that is ungodly. And it's like living in LA. It's bumper to bumper. Now, people that live in ASU, they're used to it. So what is my representative going to do to help me versus keeping it going for people at ASU? They can't do their job. And that's what we are. We are a representative republic. And you're taking that away from us.
The last 10 speakers, Jeffrey Tucker. It looks like Ari Bradshaw, James Roth, Mary Greer, Douglas Epstein, Dan Farley, Jim O'Connor, Joe Reyes, Jan Dombowski, Lori Gray. Those are the last 10 speakers. Jeffrey Tucker.
Hello, Commissioners. I would like to speak in support of map LD 0061, specifically the East Valley portion of that map. My name is Jeff Tucker. I live in Tempe and work in Chandler. I'm a property owner and taxpayer in Ahwatukee. Thank you for another opportunity to provide some opinions. Map LD 61 shows much of what Arizona needs in the East Valley, particularly in districts 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, and 14. Map 61's East Valley complies quite well with Arizona's constitutional criteria. It has roughly equal populations with variances no greater than 2,000 residents. The map is contiguous and geographically compact. The districts respect geographic features and important communities of interest. This map creates a more competitive LD12 by including Sun Lakes, and in doing so creates a more competitive District 13 via vertical split between the two districts. A crucial aspect to Map 61 is the rallying call we've been hearing for the past several weeks. It keeps cities together. It truly represents city identities by using city borders. It creates a West Mesa district, an East Mesa district, and a fully Gilbert district. Ultimately, the cities of Chandler, Gilbert, Tempe, and Scottsdale are split only into 2 districts, whereas the city of Mesa, with its large size, is split into 3. The Latino community of West Mesa is kept whole in District 9. Chandler keeps its Latino and Asian communities whole in District 13. Further, this map incorporates the significant tribal communities of the Salt River and the Gila River into the school districts where their children attend. I witnessed a meeting earlier this week where there was much praise for the approved draft map District 13 because it is square and compact. Please remember, squares do not vote. People do. Neighbors do. Cities do. Communities do. Please evaluate on all criteria, not just the pretty shape a district has. Thank you so much for all that you guys are doing.
Hello, Ola and Yata, IRC Commission. It's nice to see y'all again. I'm Maury Bradshaw of Maricopa and Yavapai counties. I own 2 Arizona businesses and help build a charity that raised dozens of thousands for Maricopa schools. I've spent the past 6 months traveling around the eastern part of the state to help a variety of organizations ranging from charities to local companies to candidates trying to get on the ballot. Thus, I'm going to focus on CD2 and LD7. Regarding the exclusion of Graham and Greenlee counties from CD2, I'm concerned that 50,000 proud rural Arizonans will have their voices drowned out by Pima residents if they are not included within CD2. The mining communities of Clifton and Morenci and the town of Blue share nothing in common with Tucson, yet they share everything in common with our brothers and sisters in Apache, Navajo, and Graham counties. From mining to family values to faith, these people are not members of the Tucson community. They are, however, major factors in eastern Arizona's culture. These counties share much more in common both culturally and economically with the rural district than they do with Tucson. The Gila River Valley and Graham County would be left as a group of a few thousand Arizonans who are used as land and population filler for a Tucson district rather than as a core part of the rural CD2 district. I plead for the sake of rural AZ2 that you guys include Graham and Greenlee counties within our rural district. The final 3 points in CD2 I'd like to make concern Santan Valley, Wickenburg, and Colorado City. Please do not separate Colorado City from its sister town Fredonia and its historically related settlements along the I-40, the Mormon settlements. Please host a meeting and talk to the citizens of this unique part of Arizona and get their thoughts before finalizing the maps. The current division of Santan Valley makes no sense and leaves urbanites out of an East Valley district, instead placing them in the rural CD2. Mapping team, I'm normally able to fit everyone within this district, this East Valley one, by starting with the southeastern bound with Santan Valley city limits. I recommend that y'all do this to not exclude Santan members from this district. Finally, don't split Wickenburg along the county lines. On LD7, I'm not sure if it can even be done at this point, but it's really large. Globe, Eager, and Williams should not be in the same district. I ask that the commission seriously reconsider District 7 in the placement of the Globe micropolitan area. Thank you so much for your time and commitment to the state of Arizona. God bless you and God bless the state of Arizona.
Good evening, commissioners. My name is, my name is James Roth. I live in Rio Verde. And I'm kind of urging that, that the commission, in considering what was formerly LD 23, should remain pretty much intact, because Rio Verde, Fountain Hills, and all of Scottsdale share a community of interest, and it is a compact and a concise area where everybody shares commonality in their shopping, dining, places where they go to church, socializing, and share community interests. But I would also like to take a moment to address the issue of competitiveness. I believe competitiveness is important, but it's really the competitiveness of ideas that's important. And it seems that there's many people have been advocating that competitiveness should be considered as the primary criteria in redistricting. But it's actually the subordinate interest to the other 6 constitutional criteria. And I think that many of these speakers are urging competitiveness as a means of gerrymandering and breaking up compact communities of interest in order to subordinate to a political purpose. And I think the primary consideration of the commission should be to keep our communities together, concise, so that the people who live together, have shared values, are represented by people that share those same values. Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners, and thank you for sticking around for the last 10 of us on our comments. My name is Mary Greer. I live in the McCormick Ranch section of Scottsdale, and I advocate that you adopt a map that keeps Scottsdale in one legislative district, specifically as proposed in map number CDF-009, which was submitted by my fellow Scottsdale resident, Emily Wilson. While there are many good reasons to do this, I will address only two: the overarching community of interest shared by residents of these areas and the creation of a competitive district. Let me begin by stating that I disagree with those who argue that competitiveness should be given less weight than other factors you must consider. That is not correct. All of the factors are important, and all of them must be balanced to optimize achievement of the 6 objectives identified by the voters, and that's the tough job you have to do. I want to speak to the issue of community. You've heard a lot about where people shop and who hasn't visited which other community. Community is tied to place in some respects, and it's a matter of choice in others. But when people refer to like-minded neighbors, it's code word for political affiliation. And that isn't something that you should be considering when it comes to community. Something like a legislative boundary, a city boundary, concern about protection of environmental assets, all of which applies to the city of Scottsdale. Those are things that deal with community. The other thing is community is something that people do in community. It's not that I individually go to a particular grocery store and whether or not it's a mile from my house or 2 miles from my house. It's what do we do in community, and what does your boundary do to promote community or to dissuade people from acting in community and being represented as community members. The city of Scottsdale and Salt River Pima Maricopa Indian community have natural economic interests that should be respected and held together. I thank you for your time and your consideration of these comments.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Doug Epstein, and I live in northern Scottsdale. My wife and I moved here 6 years ago because we thought Scottsdale was really a great community to live in. From my perspective, the key issue in redistricting rests in community of interest. All other criteria are anchored to community of interest. For example, adherence to city, town, county boundaries, undivided census tracts, districts being compact and contiguous as much as practical, all tie in to community interest. Our Scottsdale home is north of Cave Creek Parkway in what is, I guess, called the proposed LD3. Yet we shop in both Scottsdale Quarter, Fashion Square, and everywhere in between. Our church, which we love, is on Shea. We buy our cars and have them serviced in Scottsdale. We grocery shop at Sprouts, Trader Joe's, and Whole Foods. Costco's just an integral part of our weekly routine. All our medical services are in Scottsdale. We eat in restaurants all over Scottsdale. Please don't split up Scottsdale or include it with Desert Ridge in the I-17 area, since those are not in our community. In fact, from my standpoint, they're a road trip, but that's just nonsensical. And Scottsdale's western boundary should really, in my opinion, define the western edge of our district. If you have to make a change, Camelback South should go to D8, and I can't even fathom why Central Phoenix is in CD1. That's just a non-starter. Okay, thank you for.
Hi, my name is Dan Farley. Thank you for your selfless service in this task. This comment is in regard to LD8, LD3, and LD4 in your prospective map. I've been living in the same zip code, 85260, since 1995, 26 years now. I've been a real estate agent in the same area since 2002. That's 19 years and counting. I've raised 2 of my children in that area over that period of time. I share a lot of the same sentiments expressed on the McCormick Ranch Association, Scottsdale City Council, Councilwoman Kathy Littlefield, and so many others tonight, particularly on being a representative republic. I moved into my area near Cactus and 92nd Street because it had mostly single-family detached residential properties with garages, the kind of environment I wanted to raise my kids in. Tempe is high density. It's light rail. It's the exact reason why I don't live there. Indian Reservation, I understand that it's difficult to get proper addresses, which means that mail-in ballots may be a problem. And if that is the case, the current perspective map feels like a political attack on my single-family detached community, where we will lose representation we have that align with our community interest. Community interest should be the top priority. We lose any say over our kid. Okay, so I'm going to share with you as a parent. Our kids commonly go to Scottsdale Quarter. They commonly go to the Scottsdale Unified School District. That's where they make friends. Occasionally, we'll go to Desert Ridge, Railroad Park down near McDonald's. That's the area in which the kids and the families are. So you should be Chaparral or McDonald in north and south of or just north of the 101. Bottom line, LD or my area should be in either LD3 or LD4, not LD8. Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Jim O'Connor, and I'm currently serving you as a member of Arizona's Corporation Commission. I was going to talk about my personal preferences, but you've been overdosed on that, so I will withhold. But as a commissioner myself, I'm used to dealing with very controversial issues and receiving thousands of emails, text messages, personal visits, telephone town halls on things like energy rules. So if you guys think you have it tough, come on down and see me one day at work. But what I want to bring home tonight is what I heard as a commissioner listening to the great feedback you got from the public. There is something natural, something organic about people deciding where they individually choose to live. And we call that a community of interest. There is something, as a counterpoint to that, there is something very managed, top down, controlling when we deal with competitiveness. What is competitiveness for? What is the ultimate goal of competitiveness? Is that a good outcome, or is what men and women choose to do naturally the very best thing to do? What I'll be doing for the next couple of weeks or months as you guys progress is be praying for each of you daily. May God bless you, and thank you.
Joe Reyes, is Joe Reyes still here?
Hi, my name is Jan Dabauskas. I'm a resident of North Scottsdale, so I'm in what would be considered LD3 today. Frankly, I'm struggling to understand LD3, and that's why so many of us are here. It's a district that would be 30 some odd miles wide. Its boundaries are based on the 101, but that's just not how we live our lives. And so the city boundary, which you've heard over and over, is what we're asking for you to consider and to think of. When we live in Scottsdale, we work, shop, go to church in Scottsdale. I live north of the 101. I go to church south of the 101 on Shea. My husband works south of the 101 on Shea. That is where we live, where we go, where we play. Our friends are in Fountain Hills. Our friends are in Rio Verde. We don't go to Desert Ridge. If you notice along the 101, there's a big gap between Scottsdale Road and Desert Ridge. There's a whole lot of nothing there, which is a natural buffer, right? And that creates this dysmorphic situation where we just don't go to Desert Ridge. And my goodness, Deer Valley Airport We go to Scottsdale Air Park. We don't go to Deer Valley Airport. That's just not in our community of interest. I think you heard a lot from them that would support the fact that they don't come to Scottsdale Airport. They use the Deer Valley Airport up there. And so I would ask you to take those things into consideration. My children, we stay in Scottsdale. We're going to be going to the Fountain Hills Thanksgiving Day parade. They have the only parade west of the Mississippi. We go to Fountain Hills because that's close by to us. So I'd like you to take that into consideration as well. Also, we need to think about the congressional district. Maybe once a year, we'll go down to Central Phoenix. So from our area, it just doesn't make sense to have Central Phoenix with its young urban population included. That's just not part of our community of interest. I'd ask you to consider that as well. Thank you very much.
Madam Chair and Commissioners and listening audience, our 49th and final speaker for this evening in Salt River is Lori Gray.
Good evening, and thank you for coming to listen to us. It's very important. I want to start this out by saying we live in the best country in the world. I've been to 12 countries. I served in the 12 countries, and this is the best thing, smoking. So this process, I appreciate it, and I'm thrilled that we have the opportunity to speak about this. This is very important. I'm a realtor. I live in Fountain Hills, which was LD 23. I guess it's LD 3 now. I'm a precinct committeeman. I live, recreate, and hang out in Scottsdale and Fountain Hills. My community, my neighbors, and my businesses in my area, I know them. It makes no sense for Desert Ridge and Deer Valley Airport to be part of my district. The western boundary for Scottsdale, Fountain Hills, Rio Verde should be the city line, which is Scottsdale Road, not I-17. Scottsdale, Fountain Hills, and Rio Verde are western cities. North Phoenix and I-17 are densely populated. When we moved here 15 years ago, I didn't want to live in Central Phoenix. That's why I moved to Scottsdale and eventually to Fountain Hills. That's where our family enjoy to live. I have nothing in common with those areas. That's why we live where we live. So we just shouldn't be in the same district. Now, I mentioned that I was a realtor and I spend a lot of my time understanding my clients' desired communities. And I assure you that there is no benefit to citizens' quality of life by dicing up our district the way it looks right now. I pray that you guys will listen and look at this again and consider keeping our communities of interest together. Thank you.
Thank you. And before we adjourn the meeting, I just want to remind everybody that tomorrow we have a virtual town hall where we'll be discussing Northern and Western Arizona. You can go to irc.az.gov to register. And then on Saturday, November 20th, we're going to be in Prescott Valley and Kiotsuami on the Hopi Reservation. And then you can also see the rest of the meetings on irc.az.gov. And then I will give it back to Vice Chair Watchman right now to adjourn the meeting.
Thank you, Lori. We appreciate all the comments. On behalf of the commission, thank you for joining us here tonight. And we also thank the folks from Anthem. And so I just want to encourage you, if you desire, please submit your maps, and you can locate our mapping software at irc.az.gov. There's a very interactive and intuitive system there, so please consider submitting your maps. We encourage you to encourage your friends and your neighbors to share your thoughts tonight. Tonight was great feedback for the commission. So please continue and participate in future meetings. So at this time, I will adjourn the meeting. And so thank you. And thank you, fellow commissioners, for being with us tonight. Be safe, and everybody and travel well home. Thank you.